Welcome to Your True Calling. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Dr. Michelle Chappell, a psychologist and a rock star. I've helped thousands of people find their true purpose by discovering their one-of-a-kind superpowers. Each week, I'll share tools and client success stories to help you find gifts you don't know you have so that you can thrive in a career that fills your soul and passion projects that make you feel whole. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be speaking to Reverend Abigail Scherer, a young, vibrant voice in spirituality today who has been featured in Science of Mind magazine. We talk about how she left a wonderful job at Stanford University to answer her calling to be a minister. Abigail has her finger on the pulse of what women and our new generations need to survive and thrive in our tumultuous world. We talk about how we can gather our power and navigate these difficult times to make positive change. Let's get into it. Hi, Abigail. I'm so happy you can be here today on my podcast. It's so good to see you again.
Oh, good to see you too.
You know, I was doing the math, and I think we've known each other for at least 14 years, if not longer.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
How did that happen?
It's amazing.
I
I
know.
love it.
Yeah. Well, let me tell the listeners a little bit about you. You got your master's degree and ministerial license from the Holmes Institute of Consciousness Studies in 2011. And then I love this. The next year, you founded your own church, the Center for Spiritual Living Peninsula, which is in Northern California. And I know this because I used to sing there a lot.
Yes,
And
I
so
loved it.
I know there were good times there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've always appreciated you because you appealed to a broad audience. You appeal to young generations and older generations, and that's not true of everybody in New Thought, I've noticed. So I really believe you have a message for the moment. So I'm really glad you're here. So we can dive into that in a minute. Let me just tell you a little bit about what this podcast is about for you and also for listeners who haven't tuned in before. It helps people find their unique passions and talents that they may not be aware of having yet, or that they may know they have, but they're not confident enough to use in the world. And I'm a psychologist and a coach, and I've been helping people find these natural superpowers. And when they do, they often find their purpose. And so that's the goal of this podcast, is to help people find their superpowers and their purpose. And the theme this year is helping people to find their power in general. And I just thought you would be perfect for this because you empower others to live in joy, abundance, and freedom through your sermons, your talks, and your retreats. And I want to dig into all of that, but I just thought you would be perfect for this. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. I really am.
Me too. I'm glad you're here. So here's a question for you. What made you decide to become a minister? What drew you to this?
I think deep down I've wanted to be a minister for a long time. My mom just told me a story to a bunch of other people that I had never heard before. And she said that when I was a kid at church, I said I wanted to be a minister when I was young. And I don't remember that at all. I really don't. Um, but we were going to the Methodist church, and I will say that I left the Methodist church when I was like 14. I got confirmed in the Methodist church. I really enjoyed Christianity and the teachings of Jesus, and I really felt an alignment with those teachings. But what I didn't feel in alignment with was this whole idea of, a vengeful God, or God that would send people to hell because they made a mistake. Like, it's just, those two things didn't seem like they were the same teaching to me. And so that I ended up leaving Christianity at that time, and I studied a lot of different religions. Whenever I was in school, I studied Taoism. I was really interested in Taoism and Buddhism. and there was just a lot of beauty in these different religious teachings. And I thought, God, I just wish there was some kind of teaching where they would have like that string of truth, like you could read about all these different philosophies, and many of them would have similar lessons. And I thought, if there's just something that taught that string of truth, like that's where I'd go. And I ended up finding a philosophy when I was 21, called Centers for Spiritual Living now.
Mhm.
And I walked into this Center for Spiritual Living in San Jose, and they had all of these banners in the sanctuary that were all of these different religions. And then, the minister was gay, and he was laughing about how, um, you know, God can sometimes be a dominatrix in his own thoughts because he's creating something that he just keeps abusing himself with, and yet he likes it. And I was just like, what is going on? Who is this guy? What is this weird, crazy teaching? You know, and so I just dove right into Centers for Spiritual Living, which, by the way, does not teach that God is a dominatrix. Let me just be very clear on that. But
I know who you're talking about, and that church is pretty wild and inclusive and welcoming, and yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The minister is David Bruner, and he's retired now. But,
Oh,
but
is he? Oh, interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Good for him. He retired and moved to Utah with his husband, and he skis and has a great time. He does coaching too, though.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, so I remember somehow having an email address for you from Stanford. So what were you doing before you decided to become a minister? What were you doing before that? And yeah, let's just start there.
Yeah, so I worked at Stanford for 10 years,
Ah,
and I didn't start in the Office of Development, but I started actually in student housing, and I discovered the Office of Development, which is basically the fundraising arm of Stanford, and it's very big. There's hundreds of people that work in the Office of Development at Stanford, and that's where I ended up. And I worked my way up from an admin to an associate director in integrated marketing, which we also call direct appeal services. Which, because there's so many people, it's kind of like a niche market for that.
yeah.
I was basically working with all of the annual funds with their appeals, doing emails and letters and our phone call program, and working with those various programs and helping them raise money so they could support students, and going in, and especially in having a diverse group of students and making it accessible. I really love Stanford's mission and vision. I think that they're an amazing university, and very interested in finding the brightest, brilliant humans from around the world and supporting them in their education, regardless of finances. And that was really, really beautiful. So it was a great place to work at, because they actually support their employees in being healthy too. So it was a really hard job to leave to do ministry, I have to say, because I loved the university. It was really good.
That's awesome. One of the reasons I like to bring people on to my podcast who have, I think, found their calling is to help listener. I think when listeners hear their stories, it helps them to maybe spark something inside like, oh, I like my job, but it doesn't completely fit me. What would you have to say to somebody who maybe is in a job they kind of like, or maybe a job they don't like, about how to kind of get yourself ready to move on into something else? What lured you? How did you make that change?
And well, first of all, it was kind of a leap of faith.
Mm.
And it's, I have to say, very scary to make a leap of faith. But I also believe that God or source or the universe is conspiring for our greatest good. And also, I believe that each and every one of us came here on this time in this place at this time period with specific gifts to share with the world. And I knew that while I was at a great company and getting great benefits, and I was doing a good job, there was that inner call to really step into what I was meant to do on this planet. And I thought if I never left this job and this profession at Stanford and just tried to do this crazy thing called ministry, which is my thing, um, I'd never know. I'd never know if I would fully flourish or if I could really do what I came here to share with the world and be that. So it was scary, but it worked. I'm still doing ministry. That was I think in gosh, I'm gonna say maybe 2013 or 2014 is whenever I really so I now I've been, a minister full time for almost 10 or 11 years.
Thank you for saying, for being truthful about the scary part. Because it can be scary to switch gears like that. And I think people don't want to hear that, but it is true. But there is something remarkable that happens to you when you go through that fear and follow a calling. It does something to you. It changes you forever in a good way, I think.
Yeah.
No matter what's happening on the outside, there's something inside of you just lines up. Right?
I'm going through a similar leap right now. I'm leaving my full-time job, and so I will soon be a free agent minister, I'm going to say. And I, 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 I think it's like being on a roller coaster where fear and excitement are the same thing.
Mm.
It's like you're going up that crazy steep hill and you just get over the top and there's that like kind of feeling and then you go down and it's scary and exciting and all of that at the same time. And sometimes it's just shifting my brain to reminding myself this is exciting instead of going this is terrifying. Like it's just how I perceive it because it's the same feeling in my body.
Actually, the research shows if you look at the body and how it's reacting, that it's reacting in the same way when it's feeling fear and when it's feeling excitement. Isn't that interesting? And it
Yeah.
really, and some psychology studies ask people just to label it differently, and it will help you experience it differently. But the bodily sensations are the same.
Yeah.
You're breathing, your pupils are dilated, your heart is going. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's do you feel like it's an inner call, an intuition, or how do you know when it's time to go?
So, if you know Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith out of the Agape International Spiritual Center, he has this quote, pain pushes until vision pulls.
Mm.
And oftentimes, at least in my life that I've noticed, things get uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And it's like it's just not feeling right. And to me, it's like, well, that's because there is this vision that's pulling me forward.
Mhm.
And I need to look for the vision or I need to step into the vision and kind of let go of the pain. And it's just for me it's kind of like the universe going, okay, here's the little kick outside the nest. It's like you gotta jump off there in order to have that experience. And fortunately for me, I've done this before,
Yeah.
so I can just look back and say, well, I done it before and everything worked out.
You're so good at what you do. I'm sure you will land on your feet. You always do. I mean, from what I remember. Yeah. I had another question for you. I just find it interesting because when I was looking at just who you are and what you've done, you start a lot of things. You start things that don't exist yet. So the first thing I wanted to just talk about was the church you started. Like that was really cool. You just started a church. What's up with that? I think that's one of your superpowers. I think you're good at creating things that don't exist. So I'd like to talk about the church that you started, which I know all about because I went there a lot. But also, is that something that's always been true of you? Have you noticed that about yourself that you like to create something
I tend to get hired for jobs that are like newly created positions.
interesting?
or been, or they've decided to change the position, and then so I'm like the first person to have what it is, you know.
Yeah.
That's happened several times, not all the time, but several times. And yeah, I do think I'm a creator. I'm a birther of things. You
Yeah.
know, I've never actually had children, but I feel like I've birthed organizations and retreats and you know,
Yeah.
um, new ways of being or new ways of doing things. And I have noticed that pattern in my life that, well, okay, I guess that's what I'm here, is to contribute those things in the world. They're all still going. Like this, the center that I founded is still going. The Next Gen retreat that I created for spiritual adults, 18 to 35. I'll say co-created. I had a co-creator, and she has passed, but that's still going really strong. And I've stepped away from being in spiritual leadership, and there's still amazing spiritual adults that are leading that retreat.
That is so amazing. Actually, why don't, because I wanted to talk about all the different things that you start, and that's one of them. So why don't we just go there? The Next Gen retreat, you started it in, let's see, 2017. Is that right? Spiritual.
No, it was actually, I think, in 2014
Okay. And it's for spiritual adults aged 18 to 35
ish.
ish. Okay. Well, that's Gen Z and younger.
Millennials.
Yeah,
Yeah, Gen Z and millennials.
that's a great age range. Actually, a lot of my clients are that age range. What made you decide to do that? I think it's such a wonderful, wonderful idea.
Well, actually, I was mentoring a person who was on the Centers for Spiritual Living young adult leadership team. Her name is Christine Anderson, and she was a practitioner in a community, and I was a minister. And as I was mentoring her, the organization Centers for Spiritual Living had been doing a young adult retreat, and they decided to have it come to its completion. And she really wanted to have a young adult retreat and kept telling me like she wanted to do it. And I was like, you should do it. You should do it. And then I went to this minister's ongoing education conference that was in 2014. And I just got clear because we were making these big, hairy, audacious goals. And I got clear, like, I know how to do a retreat. I know how to run retreats. And Christine grew up in this organization that I'm involved in, Centers for Spiritual Living. She knew all the teens, she knew all the young adults. She was like really well connected. And I was like, well, she knows how to do that, and I know how to do the retreat. And my friend Elizabeth Rowley, Reverend Elizabeth, was also at that retreat, and she said, I'll help you set up the technology. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I came back and I told Christine, and she was all in. She was all in. And so she's my co-founder of Next Gen Retreats. And she recently passed away.
Right.
So it's part of her legacy too. And it's an honor and privilege that I got to co-start that with her.
It sounds like a beautiful synergy between you. Why do young people need to learn leadership? Or what is the goal of that retreat? And just in general, how does it help younger people? I have a lot of younger people who listen to this podcast. What is,
Well,
how can they benefit from things like that? What do they need to know?
I mean, I think it does some really good things. One is it does teach leadership skills, also relationship skills, also finance skills. That's a really good age to learn about. And this is not just like it's practical, but also the spiritual principles behind that. But the other thing is also social justice, because I think a lot of the younger generation is very interested in creating a world that works for everyone, and so social justice skills are part of that too. So those are the main components of the retreat for people who are spiritual and they're in that age group. It's amazing. And many people from around the world, they might be like the only person in that age group that's going to, a New Thought church and or center. And I'm like, hey, ministers, send your one person because once you see like 40, 50, 60 of your peers who are really in alignment with what you are from all around the United States and Canada, then you start to know that you're part of something big that's happening.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to take a pause to check in with you. I hope you are enjoying this interview with Abigail as much as I am. Whether you're spiritually inclined or not, you should be able to relate to her story. And I completely agree with her that each of us is on this planet at this time for a reason. There's a wonderful quote from Chadwick Boseman, who was the star of the superhero movie The Black Panther, when he was giving a speech at Howard University. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on the planet at this particular time in history. Your very existence is wrapped up in the things you are here to fulfill. I too deeply believe that each of us carries a piece of the puzzle, and it takes courage to know that there's a unique path for you and to follow that path. We were all born with a purpose and special gifts to fulfill it, but many of us buried our unique gifts in the unconscious to blend in with others and become the people our family and society conditioned us to be. We often completely forget about these gifts, but the good news is that they're still there, tugging at you, calling you to see them, to use them. Now, often, we knew what our gifts were when we were young, like how Abigail knew she wanted to be a minister when she was just a girl. Now, other clues as to what your gifts might be is that they come very easily to you. When you use them, they put you in the moment. Other people ask you for advice about that topic. Take a moment to ask yourself, what do you think those gifts might be? What did you love to do when you were a child? What do people ask you your opinion on? What makes you come alive when you do it? What makes time disappear? Those are big clues as to what your superpowers may be. We all have to go on a journey to find those gifts. Now, Abigail knew early on she wanted to be a minister, even though she forgot about it for a while. But she had to find the right type of church first. And then she had to allow herself to be pulled forward into the reason why she's really here right now and give up a secure job to do that. I risked giving up a secure job as a professor to follow my calling to be a rock star. And later in life, I realized that my ultimate calling was to help people find their superpowers and purpose and bring their piece of the puzzle forward to help heal our world. Now, that may seem like that's just too much to ask of you right now, but let me tell you, when you follow your calling, it actually comes quite naturally to you. And sometimes it may seem like a big ass calling, and sometimes it may seem like a little calling. One of the first people I ever worked with was Gina, 20-year-old receptionist who really didn't like her job. And she came to my workshop every week, but she never would share what she was struggling with until several weeks in when she finally raised her hand and she said, "I have a question for you." And the whole class turned from me to look at her. And she said, "I love to watch Beauty and the Beast over and over again, and I collect stuffed animals and dolls. Do you think there's something wrong with me?" And everybody looked from Gina back to me. And I instantly knew there was nothing wrong with her because she had this integrity about her. So I told her so. And she said, "Good." And I said, "Well, why do you say good?" And she said, "Because my boyfriend said there was something wrong with me, and I just left him." And I said, "Good, because there's something wrong with your boyfriend, but nothing wrong with you." So as the workshop progressed, Gina started to realize that she had an amazing superpower, which was the ability to see the world through a child's eyes. Do you know how remarkable that is? Very few adults are able to do that. And by the end of our workshop, she realized that her true calling was to be a kindergarten teacher. Now, just by virtue of being her true self, being authentic, she is a wonderful role model for her students to be authentic, to be their true selves too. You are born with gifts that our planet needs right now, that no one else but you can give. Your true calling is to share those gifts with others, no matter how small or strange they may be. So what do you think they might be? What tiny talent might you have to offer? Are you a good listener? Can you make people laugh? Are you good at organizing things? Are you a kind soul? You know, we tend to minimize such gifts when we compare them to the accomplishments of doctors and lawyers and other highly esteemed professionals. But you know, COVID showed us that essential workers included grocery store clerks, delivery people, and other overlooked individuals on whom our daily lives depend. Treat your gifts as sacred no matter how little they may seem. So don't feel pressure to do this. You know, if you're upset about being laid off or you're worried about finding your right job, this may just seem like too far a reach for you. But taking the time to discover your hidden abilities and to align with those gifts will help guide you to the right career. And doors will begin to open once you do that. And if you are overwhelmed with depression and anxiety right now, again, you may think this is too far a reach for you. But research shows that finding direction and a sense of purpose lowers depression and anxiety and builds resilience and happiness. It's worth doing the work to find out what your gifts are and the reason you're here on this planet right now. And you don't have to express your gifts in a job. You can do it through a creative outlet, a side project, volunteer work, social activism, or just by virtue of being true to you, like Gina. That makes you a good role model for others. You know, I found that I had musical gifts, and at one point I asked myself, how can I use these gifts to help? And since then, I've done benefit concerts to raise awareness about the homeless and domestic violence, and I've dressed up as a superhero to sing to critically ill children in hospitals to help give them hope. What about you? It doesn't have to be big, it just needs to come naturally to you. Abigail has started and served in churches in the New Thought community and put on retreats for young people and women. If you're feeling overwhelmed in the world right now, and believe me, most of us do, just know that you came with the strength not only to deal with it, but to help heal it. All you have to do is be brave enough to be the person you were born to be in the first place, not who others tell you to be. Did you know that the number one regret of people on their deathbed is that they didn't follow their purpose, but they did what others expected of them instead? Abigail is a shining example of following your calling. Next, we're going to talk about her amazing women's retreat that's coming up in early April and how you can harness your gifts to live as your full, authentic self. Let's go.
I also wanted to talk about the Sister Spirit Women's Retreat. I really want to talk about that one in some depth. One is coming up in April, and you are going to be the featured speaker. And I'm going to put a link to it in the show notes. But you founded this one too.
Yeah.
I mean, girl, just okay. Now I have that you founded it in 2007, and the first retreat was in 2008. Is that
Correct.
that
Yeah.
sound? So can you tell the listeners what is Sister Spirit? What is it? Who is it for, and what is it about?
So Sister Spirit is an amazing transformational retreat for people who identify as women or non-binary and who want to go to a women's retreat, who are interested in that. And really, it's about creating a safe space to do some deep spiritual work and have a powerful group of all ages, humans that are interested in supporting great work in the world. And so each retreat is different because we have a different theme every year. I think we have a good balance of deep self work and also fun and play. And I'm very, very happy because a lot of the surveys, that's what I've heard, is there's like a perfect balance of deep, spiritual, profound, wild, radical healing work, and then lots of fun and play. So I really, and I have a lot of fun too. I honestly enjoy going to Sister Spirit, and I'm great. I can't believe my team hired me to be the guest, featured speaker this year. And it really means a lot because we're here to do some great work in the world, but also as is a lot of women or non-binary or trans women, we're also here to support each other. And it's good to have that safe space, and it's good to have your own retreat where you have everything. I mean, we're gonna have sound healing, we've got yoga, we've got qigong, we've got workshops, and we also support the businesses, the people who come who have different businesses. We have a merchant fair, we have a talent show, and we have sessions that run through a theme that follows the hero or the heroine's journey throughout. And this year it's about, the theme is a bridge to the radiant soul. And I would say that the radiant soul is our true innermost authentic self. And it's not that we're building a bridge, it's the bridge is there. The bridge is there to our infinite self, the God self, or the goddess self, whatever you want to call it, to the inner self, and then to the self that is the connection between others, because there's that connection there. So that's the bridge to the radiant soul, is looking at all those bridges, and are you taking care of them? How well are they traveled? And we have a little sub theme this year that is kind of secret, but I'm letting the secret out, and it's about Inside Out 2. So the movie?
Oh, I've seen both, yes.
Yeah.
So
So
good.
we're going to be talking about our emotions and loving all of it as we're whole and complete, even with all of our emotions, exactly with all of our emotions, because we're spiritual beings having a human experience and human beings having a spiritual experience. It's all the same thing. And so some people focus on only the spiritual and some only focus on the human. And this is like, no, we're all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to be feeling all the feels, especially now.
Yeah, if it's okay, I would love to ask you if you have any thoughts about people who identify as women, how to handle the world that we live in right now, because women are really being pushed back on big time. Any thoughts about how to? I know you're going to do a lot at your wonderful retreat, but anything for just the listeners right now, how to find power or not give up hope or build resilience? Anything top of mind?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot because I've been going through a lot personally, and also in the country and in the world, there's a lot of turmoil and there's a lot of division. And I want to be in a place where I am a bridge as well. But what I've recognized is, one, we cannot give up hope. We can, because if we give up hope, we already are saying that it's not possible. And I believe that we live in a universe of infinite possibilities. And if we're in a universe of infinite possibilities, then absolutely the highest and best outcome is possible. I was thinking about this like quantum physics. So in quantum physics, there's infinite possibilities. And then whatever we put our focus, or whatever we're looking at, wherever we put our intention at, it collapses the realm of possibility into a reality. And that happens not just on a personal level, but it happens on a collective level. So what's happening right now is an effect of all past collective, I want to say collective consciousness or intentions, or a collective group of people, what we've created together is what's exactly unfolding right now. And it also means that at this very moment, we're at the place where we get to create what we would love and what we would like to see. And we need to, maybe we were born for this very thing, to take a stand at this time and this place for love and possibility, and really, really support each other in that. And I think there's some key things. One is recognize if you're having grief, I'm having grief, to feel all the feelings, to allow yourself to really be knowing that you're in grief and process through your emotions and love yourself through that. And the second thing that's really key is self-care, because we cannot do this if we're, in the mud, in the dirt, in the, like, if we're groveling around there, like we got to make sure we're taking care of ourselves and each other. And that is super, super important in order to have the resilience to carry on. And I think women, I think people of color, I think trans people, I think, things have happened throughout time, and yet we have come so far. And it's been at key crucial points when women and allies and have stood together to say, we want to create a different reality. We want to create something different than what's happening now. And we have to articulate it and speak it and dream it and pray it and intend it and know it and take actions that are in alignment with it. And also know when we are feeling overwhelmed that we got to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
That's really important.
No, that's a great answer. I think authoritarian regimes really like people to give up hope and to think
Yes.
they have no power. And they want them to believe that early, as soon as possible, before it's true.
Uh-huh.
And I'm a board on the board for the Oregon Friends of Jung, so I've heard a lot of Jungian analysts talk about what's happening in the world. It's very interesting because Carl Jung was alive during World War One and World War Two. We've been through this kind of thing before,
Uh-huh.
and we have insights based on that, and we also live in community. We're not isolated. We're not alone. So it's a matter of choosing to believe that you have power when you really do, or
Mhm.
rolling over and playing dead too soon. And so I see that happening with unfortunately, with some of my friends where they've already given up and just believe that hell is coming and there's nothing we can do about it. And I know that's not true. I know that's not true. There's power in numbers. And like you were saying, if you can articulate a mission and then go towards that mission, take action towards that mission, you can make change.
I'm here to be a change agent in the world and a light worker. And what does the light do? I think about, what is the light in the darkness? The stars, the fireflies, they're the places where it just takes a little bit and it is magical. you know?
Yeah.
And we just have to remember who we are. We have to be those lights in the dark places and know that there's lots of lights. We just have to rekindle and remember that truth about our beingness in order to move forward. It's like there's it also, just like you said, it's also the stories that we tell. Like this is a story of triumph, and this is a story about resilience. And if we're willing to do this journey, we get to be the place where we are those heroes on this journey in this, thing called life. And it's hard and it's difficult, and I do not like what I'm seeing. And yeah, things like this have happened before, and yet there were people who were willing to take a stand and say, this is not the world that I want to live in. I want to create a different paradigm.
Yeah.
And we can create that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Carl Jung talks about the shadow, and looking at our darkness too, that people sometimes project their own darkness onto others because they haven't processed it yet. So I think the way I'm looking at it is we're hitting a juncture, And are we going to choose to become better versions of ourselves, or are we going to de-evolve? It's really that. It's right there in front of us. We have been evolving. Things have actually been overall getting better. And
Yeah.
now slipping backwards, that doesn't mean you stop because you slip backwards. It just means you gather up your energy and your power and you take a look at what's happening now and do something about it, you know? It's and it doesn't it and I love the idea of your retreats too. I want to circle back to that before we end. Because I think when you bring people together, like you were saying, you know, one person from one community, one person from another church, and they get to see themselves in others, I think that must give people more hope. Is that true?
Yes, yes, and that's where I want it to be a place to be. I want it to be a place of hope. I want it to be a place of rekindling that spark within and remembering the truth of who you are and to be lit up because of that reflection. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I love co-creating, and I will also say that every retreat that I've done has always been bigger than me. And I've just had the privilege and honor to, be the lead, but really it's the infinite spirit is the lead, and it is the one that's doing the work. And we just put our intentions out there, and it's like a chrysalis. It's a place of transformation for the better. And I love that because I also transform. And it's really helpful for me too.
Ah, dear listeners, I hope you're feeling inspired and more hopeful about the world. I know I am. Reverend Abigail's retreat is happening in Seebeck, Washington, from April 3rd to April 6th. It's at the Seebeck Conference Center and called A Bridge to the Radiant Soul. I put a link to it in the show notes, and I hope you're able to go. I'm sure you would get a lot out of it. Thank you so much, Abigail, for sharing your wisdom with us today. Thank you for listening to Your True Calling. Please leave a review and share it with your friends. From my website, yourtruecalling.org, you can follow me on social media, learn more about my music and my coaching, contact me to find your superpowers live on the air, and help me produce future episodes by funding me on Patreon.